right, guys, I'm here with Alec. I've seen this Tacoma for a while, and I think it's literally the coolest Tacoma that's ever been built. He's gonna be humble about it, but we're gonna get into it. 1 tons, LS, like this thing has it all. I'm really excited because I'm actually gonna be learning about it with you. I don't know really much of the specs other than just some surface level stuff. So we're gonna walk around the truck. I'll ask him questions about the build. But before we get started, how did you get into off-roading? Like, what started this?
Just when I was young, I used to mow lawns. I saved up enough money to buy my first four-wheeler.
Nice.
That's kind of like what kick-started my love for like off-road and mechanics. Then I turned 15, sold my four-wheeler, and I went and bought a Suzuki Samurai.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of like where it really started, because I saved up and put a lift and tires and started wheeling with my buddies. We all bought off-road rigs, and they were all in Toyotas, and I had my Suzuki, but I just kept building that, and it started my addiction for it, and
dude, that's awesome.
Kind of snowballed from there into this. So
that's sick. And so that also kind of led you to what you do for a living. You're a helicopter mechanic, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I worked at Discount Tire for a long time, and I hated. I was like done with doing tires. And so I looked into mechanics, like diesel mechanics, and then my grandpa was an aircraft mechanic too. Cool. So I kind of looked into that, and I ended up going the route of aircraft mechanic, and that also kind of snowballed, and I've been doing it for like 12 or 13 years now. And
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this truck a little bit more, but that's the cool background. I've been in a couple Suzuki Samurais, and those things are turtles. They're even worse than the V6 of the Tacoma.
Yeah, those little 1.3s they have, and I used to drive. I used to drive it from Davis County to Moab with my buddies on the highway with 33s, and it just was terrible going up the canyon. But
yeah, starting from there, now being on 42 stickies, that's some goals right there.
And an LS, right?
Right. Cool. So I'm going to grab the camera, and then we'll just kind of walk around, and I'll ask you some questions about it.
Sweet.
So I know that you're a fabricator, and you built this bumper from scratch.
Yep. Yeah. So I just had an idea of what I want it to look like. So I literally took a picture of my truck, and then I used like one of the editing apps to turn it into like a sketch looking thing, right?
Oh, nice.
And printed it out. And then I just sketched with a pencil over the picture that I printed, and I kind of sketched out some different designs that I liked. And then from there, I just cut it out of cardboard and taped it all together, and it looked good. So then I took measurements, drew it up in Fusion 360.
Yeah.
And had my buddy cut it out. He used to run like a laser shop, and so he cut all the pieces out for me, and this is kind of the end result. I've had a lot of people interested in wanting to buy it from me, but it's kind of welded. It's not necessarily meant to bolt onto another Tacoma, right? You'd have to do some modifications for sure.
Yeah, look at these dimes, bro. Those things are nice. I don't know if you can see those on the camera. Before we get too far, let's plug your fabrication shop. So Iron Ridge right there.
Iron Ridge Fab, yeah. So this is my new company that I started. I've been doing side business for a long time, but I just decided to make it official. And, so yeah,
congrats, man.
Fab.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Cool. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we plugged that before we got too far.
Appreciate it.
So if any of you guys have any fabrication needs, are you planning on mainly doing bumpers, or are you going to be doing like full-on like solid axle swaps?
So that's the thing is, people probably think it is probably off-road driven, but I'm actually trying to avoid the off-road industry if I can. Yeah. Okay. So I'm down to talk if there's something you're interested in. Yeah. But it's crazy how cheap you can get stuff online now.
Okay.
The amount of time that it takes to build bumpers, the bigger companies, they have it on lockdown because they can do it for so much cheaper. But if you want something custom, that's a different deal, right?
That's a tough business too, because if you're a fabricator for one of those big companies, you're just making the same bumper day in, day out. For weeks at a time.
So I'm really kind of focused more towards aviation fabrication, or repair work on exhaust and things like that. But I will pretty much do anything, railings, off-road stuff, just kind of whatever anybody needs. So
cool. Well, look at these dimes. So if you guys have any aviation or other needs, hit this guy up. But okay, so this is a first-gen Tacoma. What year is it? Okay, it's not a Tacoma really, if you think about it, but
it's it started as a 2003 Tacoma that was
salvage
totaled.
title,
Yeah,
right?
salvage
Okay.
title. I mean, it's technically a clean title because it got totaled, and nobody ever like went through the process. Like it wasn't. I don't know if it wasn't insured or what the deal was, but
Yeah.
it's technically got a clean title on it still.
Okay.
So
Cool.
as a 2003 Tacoma.
Nice.
But I basically, I got that Tacoma. The only thing I saved from it was the cab and the bed,
Nice.
and everything else went away.
Half the bed.
Half the bed because I cut and half the cab because I cut all the floors out of the cab, I cut the firewall out of the cab, and then I cut the bed up. It's just the bed sides. So, and then I had to buy all new, fenders and hood and whatnot because the other ones were trashed. But
Right.
so yeah, it's a 2003 Tacoma with pretty much just a custom chassis. I built the frame, roll cage, everything basically from scratch. So.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, so if you look at the floors inside, you can go to my Instagram and you can see it all, but it's all custom built.
Oh, nice.
All sheet metal, bead rolled. It kind of sucks because I did so much work on it and then I just covered it up with like lizard skin and you can't really see a lot of the details, and it's super dirty now. I've been using it for 2.5 years now. So
that switch panel integration's really clean.
Yeah, the rear light bar switch panels are pretty cool. They worked out pretty sweet.
Man, this is so cool. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, I noticed the grill. Is that from a second gen?
No. So
No?
it's actually still a first gen, like 2001 to 2004 Tacoma grill, but it's from Taco Vinyl. Taco Vinyl sent this to me.
Okay, nice.
And it's sweet. It's a pro grill, right? They actually have them for like the newer model Tacomas too, like that one in my garage, and I have plans to get one just like this for it too. But
yeah, it looks cool.
It looks good. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, I do like the OG grill. Like I look back at my original pictures with it on, and it looks really good. But they're both good looking grills.
Yeah, I have a second gen Tacoma, and honestly, it's hard to beat the looks and the size of the first gen Tacoma as far as like a rock crawler goes. The wheelbase is a little bit better.
Yeah, it's narrower. The body.
Right. Cool, man. So winch, it looks like you're running a Smitty built. Is it a 10,000?
Yep, it's a 9.5K, I think technically. Yeah, 9.5K. I do have plans here shortly to get a Warn.
Oh, nice.
I want something faster and quieter, just smoother. So
What
I do have plans. I'll probably get another 10K.
I might have a hookup, so I'll let you know after.
Sweet.
But
appreciate it. And then yeah, the ultra hook's pretty rad.
Yeah, that thing's clean. I don't have one of these covers, and I kind of tore up my rope a little bit last time I was wheeling.
Yeah, these are a must, I think, and they look cool in my opinion. But I do like I thought I was gonna drag it on a lot more obstacles, but this thing has a pretty decent approach angle, so I really don't hit it much. And I did, like with the bumper, I custom built this skid plate for the bumper, and I sunk my fair lead into the skid.
Yeah, that looks really
super
good.
clean.
I've been debating getting those Yankum fair leads where
I got a buddy with one, and those are making me look over the fence too.
I know, right?
Yeah, because then you avoid all this together, right? But these are so useful.
I mean, with you and having 42s and stuff, your approach angle's killer. But with my second gen, like every millimeter feels like matters, you know?
Right. Yeah.
With my approach angle.
Those Yankum ones are pretty rad. Super clean.
And I always use a soft shackle anyways.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, same. I do too. Like so it really does make sense. Yeah, for sure. Okay,
so we'll save the engine for later because I know everybody wants to know about that. But as far as the 1 tons, so this thing obviously you did the chassis, and so then you had to create all the linkage because you solid axle swapped this thing still, because the first gen Tacoma still is IFS. So tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so what I ended up doing is, I'm sure you've heard of 4 Wheel Underground. Yeah, 4 Wheel Underground, Brian. I got basically out in contact with him, and I'm like, hey dude, this is my plan. Like I want to build this from scratch, but I want to use like your kit, and I need dimensions for a frame, a Tacoma frame, because I took some dimensions, but it was all kind of bent.
Yeah.
And I was curious what his dimensions were for his kit. So I basically asked him, he gave me the dimensions that he designed his kit around, so I basically built my truck to what his perfect spec was.
Dude,
for
his kit is insane.
Yeah, and it looks good. It functions well. I'm really happy with Whirl Underground and what he's done. And if I have any questions or anything, he was like super good about. You know,
Right.
I've had I don't know how many phone calls with him. We're basically we're pretty good friends now.
Yeah.
So if I have any questions about this or pretty much anything else off-road related, he's a really smart dude. So basically designed my frame measurements around the Whirl Underground kit, and it kind of just went from there. It was actually pretty simple at that point because he basically gave me dimensions,
Yeah.
and then I made my frame to his dimensions, and that's pretty much what it was. And from the beginning, I wasn't gonna use, or I didn't have plans to do a link suspension in the rear because I didn't have money for it.
Yeah.
But it took me so long to get to that point, and I ended up finding some money at that point, and then I contacted him again and went for a 4-link kit in the rear.
Okay.
Because I got a 3-link up front, 4-link in the rear, and I kind of did the same thing.
So are they both Super Duties, or do you have a?
Nope. So the front axle is it's an early '90s F350. They call it like the Snow Fighter
I've
axle,
heard that
right?
one, yeah.
So it's a kingpin high pinion.
Didn't they use that literally for snow plowing?
I think it was like that was like a package or something had back in the day in like the F350s, and that's kind of where it got its name from.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a kingpin high pinion that I have RCVs in, Yukon air locker.
Air locker, nice. I feel like a lot of crawlers will just do the mechanical lockers, like always on ones.
I have a mechanical in the rear. It's another Yukon Grizzly.
Nice.
And it works really good. It's simple. I like that it's simple and it's robust.
It's nice that when you're wheeling, you don't have to worry about flipping the switch or anything.
Yeah, I've had an automatic locker or like a Detroit style locker in the front on some of my other rigs, and it's they're not fun. So like selectable
tough.
locker in the front's like a must. But then I got 529s for the ring and pinion, and like my Yukon hardcore hubs. Those things have been really nice too.
Yeah, those are sweet. So, what truss is this? A custom built truss?
No, it's an Artec. So I got a truss from Artec, and I've got reed knuckles, Artec steering arms, and rough stuff diff cover, and then I've got all PSC steering, so the full hydraulic ram, and then I actually have Ram 3500 brakes, so the calipers and rotors and everything are off of a like 2010 3500 Ram.
Nice.
It's just kind of a modge podge of different manufacturers and stuff, but.
And I'll be honest, I've never seen lights right there. That's pretty cool.
So I wish I could say I came up with it, but I don't know if you follow, or he used to have a super dope first gen Tacoma, Brian Reynolds in California.
I don't know if I've heard of him.
Yeah, he sold his Tacoma to Logan Cowick up in Washington, and he had these lights on his knuckles, and I kind of stole the idea from him. So it's steerable lighting. It's actually pretty nifty. So
that's really cool.
Yeah,
it's
I like it.
That paired with some rock lights is probably pretty legit.
Yeah, it's nice. It works really well. I need to do some type of like forward lighting. I don't like ditch lights, and I put them there because I went up to Washington early last year.
Yeah.
And I needed something, so I just hurried and threw those on. But I have plans to put lights in the bumper. I've already cut some pieces. I just need to redo it. And then potentially I have plans to do lights where they're supposed to be rather than just windows.
Yeah.
So.
We were talking about it before we started rolling the cameras. It looks cool to see the reservoirs though in there.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize, that they're actually not lights. And they're like, oh, I just barely realized after 2 years that you don't have headlights. So.
Yeah. So one thing looking at a lot of solid axle swap vehicles is they ride super high. What I like about your truck is I don't feel like the ride height is very tall.
It's super low. I really like to make my rigs as low as I can. So I don't have a ton of up travel on the front. I've got about 4.5 inches of up travel.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so stable on the rocks and the off-road. It's super stable. So
I like that, man.
And I try to keep my links at a flat pitch or negative. So if you look at it from the side, my links are pretty flat and negative almost. So.
Oh wow, that's pretty interesting. That's cool.
Yeah. So it's super stable, and it honestly it has a pretty good ride quality. So.
Yeah.
I am pretty close to my bumps, so I pretty much ride on my bump stops in the front. But I don't know if you've seen Perry Products. Have you seen that? He
Not
just came
yet.
out with some basically bump pad replacements for the bump stops. I don't have them on yet.
Oh, okay.
He sent me some, and they were for like a different style, so he's sending me some different ones. But it'll basically replace this pad, and it's like a 3D printed like softer rubber or something,
cool.
and it quiets it down because like they're
Nice.
pretty noisy when you sit there and you're always on them.
Yeah.
It's supposedly supposed to quiet it down pretty good. So
Cool, man. So custom sliders. I like how they have like an upward angle.
yeah, I like to keep them super tucked up because they look better that way. But they're actually Rough Stuff kit. So
Oh, is
Rough
it?
Stuff
Okay.
sells this kit. I
Nice.
kind of modified it a little bit, but
Yeah.
they worked really good for a while. But this thing's a little bit chunky. I just weighed it. It's like 6,300 pounds, a little over. And if I
Pretty
get
heavy
it,
for a little taco,
yeah,
right?
yeah, there's a lot of tube in this thing. So if I hit an obstacle pretty hard, it bends these things up into my door.
Mm.
So if you hear me screeching my doors, that's usually why. So I have plans to build some like mini boat sides here,
Yeah.
probably this winter.
Nice.
So yeah, but they held up. They've been abused. So
Right. So wheels and tires. You're running stickies. How have you always been a sticky guy, or is it kind of new to you?
so I used to run Milestars, and I had their black labels, which is like
Yeah.
their sticky compound,
Right.
and they work really good. So yeah, from the beginning, I've had the black labels, but I just decided recently that I wanted to switch it up a little bit and test these Nittos out. So these are the Nitto 42-inch Nitto K-Spec.
They look great.
And
Like, they look so good.
I got my favorite wheel back. This is my all-time favorite wheel. So the Trail Ready bead locks I love the way they look. I like the thick bead lock look.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it protects your hub because our mutual buddy Jeep just destroyed
yeah, that's
his
true.
Yukon hub on that.
We were with him on that one. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
right?
got it pretty good. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, this tire wheel setup, it's gonna be pretty sweet. I've only had it out once. We're headed to Sand Hollow in like 2 weeks.
Nice. That's
So
exciting.
go test them out again. But
Sweet, man. So I like the wrap. It's kind of an iconic wrap. Like when I first saw this truck, I was like, man, this is just the coolest wrap plus solid axle. It's just kind of iconic.
yeah.
Did you do it yourself, or did you go somewhere? And...
Yeah. So, dude. So I try to save money where I can.
Yeah.
And like I got quotes on having somebody else do it for me. Before I met Taco Vinyl like a month too late.
Yeah.
Because Taco Vinyl would have like been able to work a deal out with me to where I
Yeah.
could have gotten what I wanted. Because originally I wanted a custom built wrap with like sheet metal panels and to make it look like an old like A10 Warthog
That'd be
airplane.
cool. Yeah.
That was my original plan, but
Yeah.
people wanted too much money. I mean,
Right.
it is what it is. It's expensive. So what I ended up doing is just went online to like Metro Restyles and I bought vinyl for like $800.
Cool.
And then me, my wife, and a couple of my buddies and their wives came over, and it was like a mutual effort. Took us a little while.
Yeah.
The first side didn't turn out as good, but by the second side, we pretty much had it down. So
Yeah, I mean, you've definitely been wheeling it.
yeah, I mean it held up. It held up a lot better than I thought. Like
Got a
I thought
few
it would tear it,
scratches.
but it really just protects the paint, and
Yeah.
it doesn't tear like I thought it would. So it's held up really good. At some point, I'll probably redo it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to let it get a lot worse before I redo it.
So one thing, kind of random, that I have to give you credit for is these fender cuts. Like those are super clean, man.
So
That's impressive.
That's one thing that people are always asking me. How do you cut your fenders, dude? And I do it with a 4.5-inch grinder. Like I do light passes.
Yeah.
I start with a light pass and kind of get like a good groove, and then after you like get a few passes, it kind of follows.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of time with a grinder, so
Yeah.
like people. I have a couple other buddies like, dude, why don't you try this or this? And I'm like, no, like I've had 20 years almost experience with this
Yeah.
4.5-inch grinder, so I'm just gonna keep doing it this way.
It looks
But
so clean.
yeah, it actually, I've gotten pretty good at it. So you got your little
Yeah. So that's relocated to right here.
Yeah.
What
Yep.
size tank are you running?
It's a 19 gallon. Doesn't look like it, but yeah, it's a 19 gallon moto built aluminum
nice.
gas tank. So
So 4-link suspension in the rear.
yep.
Did you ever consider it a 3-link, or did you just always want to do a 4-link?
No, I think the 4-link's probably more robust in the rear, and you have more room for it. Really, the 4-links up front, they work, but you really gotta, place your engine right and usually shove your axle further forward. So the rear, yeah, it was. He has 2 kits. He has a parallel 4-link or the double triangulated, which this is the double triangulated. And I basically told him, look, dude, you tell me what you think's best. He's like, well, if you going slower and doing mostly rock crawling and stuff, I would just go with the double triangulated 4-link. So
Yeah.
that's what we did.
Yeah, it's so cool when it's
pretty cool
integrated
design.
into the truss like that.
Yeah.
That looks really cool.
Yeah, it's super cool looking. So he did a really good job. He's always got like the different looking stuff. And the only thing I changed from it was the shock mounts. So his shock mounts are supposed to go directly over the link bucket, basically. And but the kit's not necessarily designed for 1 tons. So I'm a lot wider than originally planned.
What are you, like 72 or something?
The wheel mount surface is 72.
Yeah.
So overall width, I think, is like 89.
Oh, bro. we were struggling getting out of your garage just barely.
Yeah, it's wide. So, but yeah, I just designed new lower link mounts.
Okay.
And they basically look just like his. I just kind of pushed them out further and kind of designed my own that look like it in a way.
Yeah.
So.
No, that looks super clean. I like that, like, tube skid plate you have in the middle of the truck to protect your transfer case and everything.
That's technically that's Brian, so 4 Wheel Underground. He sells like a subframe kit.
Yeah.
And those are his subframe brackets, and then you just basically build your own subframe with it. So it really strengthens everything up too. Like it ties all the links and everything together, and it's pretty slick.
So my father-in-law, on his Jeep, the brackets for his links are super bulky. So these I feel like are really low profile, and because he's always getting hung up on those on obstacles.
Yep.
So I feel like these are just like perfect size.
Yeah, they are pretty low profile. He did a really good job designing them. I mean, they look really good too. So
these things are so beefy, man.
Yeah, those Summit Machine links are pretty dope.
That's awesome.
They've been taking a beating, so.
So what shocks and springs are you running?
So in the rear, I have got 16-inch Radflow, 2.5-inch wide, and then in the front they're 2.5s as well, but they're 14-inch travel. So
gotcha.
14s in the front, 16s in the rear, and I know a lot of people have asked me what my weights are. Right now in the back I'm running 150 over 250, and then in the front I'm 175 over 250. So.
When you were building it, did you ever think about going through the hood with your engine? What do they call it? Engine.
My truss and everything.
Like
yeah. I did. I did think about that, and I actually really like that look. But I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I'm like, 14s will be enough, and it'll look clean with the actual hood on there. But who knows? In the future, it might change. But
yeah. I mean, it looks great how it is.
Right. But yeah, I did think about poking them through the hood because I do like that look.
Yeah. So you custom fabbed the roll cage. So look how clean this is. That looks really good, man. And then there's a lot of tube work in here, dude.
Yeah, there's a ton of tube work. Like, the underneath shot. I kind of overbuilt everything. And, like this custom little rear bumper and, just tons of tube everywhere. I probably went a little overkill, and that's why she's so heavy, but...
Hey, I mean, you probably rarely break anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this thing is so clean. So let's go inside one more time. Rubbing a little bit like you were mentioning.
That's what I was talking, yeah. They rub the sliders, so...
So you mentioned you have an Atlas transfer case.
Yep, so I've got an Atlas 4-speed. So, I'm pretty sure most people are pretty caught up on Atlases, but you can basically separate the front and rear case, and then I've got a doubler, so I have more gearing options, and then I've got a TH400 for the transmission, and it's a manual basically, so manual valve body.
Yeah.
So I have to shift it manually, and then I did a reverse pattern, so it goes 1 2 3, so reverse neutral 1 2 3, and it's got a rock gate shifter. So when I'm on an obstacle and I'm in first, and say I start to like tip backwards or something, all I have to do is like throw it forward and it goes into reverse.
That gives you a lot of peace of mind.
Yeah, and being able to like lock it into a certain gear and choose different gear ratios, like I have a lot of different options. And coming from wheeling with a manual, it's kind of like best of both worlds.
Right.
So
you don't have to use your left foot, which is nice, but you gotta go through the gears. So is that, oh my gosh, is that like a PRP car seat?
So yeah, I've got a PRP bench, and then I have these little inserts for my kids.
Dude, so I had a son 6 months ago, so this is probably gonna be goals in the future. Those are like pretty cute.
They got their own little race seats back there.
That's sick.
And they love going wheeling. So
you're running the PRP seats too. You like these?
I do. Yeah, I really like these. These are actually the daily drivers because I like how low the sides are. They're easier to get in and out of. So I went with these. Also, kind of a recommendation of Brian Reynolds. So they're super comfy, and I would for sure like recommend these guys. They're pretty awesome seats, and they have so many different options. But
yeah, and these babies aren't going anywhere, dude.
Yeah, these things are in here for sure. Cool. I like the dimple die. I have a lot of circles and dimple dies in my truck. All throughout it. So kind of carry the theme throughout.
Looks good. And then you got the PRP steering wheel.
Yeah.
Before we shut the door, is there anything else you want to go over in here?
I mean, not really, I guess. It's mostly just cage and seats and, all the custom metalwork and stuff.
How clean that is. It's cool.
And people, a lot of people question like how I welded the top side of the cage. And if you go onto my Instagram, I have like a bunch of posts showing it. But I basically lifted my cab off of it after I tacked everything together and welded everything I could, and then slid the cab off, welded it all up, and put it back on and welded the cab on. So
dude, you're crazy.
It was a lot of work, but it all worked out.
There we go.
She closes.
Cool. So we could be here for hours talking about everything that you've done on this thing, but I think a lot of people want to see this LS.
Yeah, let's look at it. So I've been battling like heat issues, and a lot of people do with LSs, I feel like. So I recently put these vents in the hood, and I've done a lot of different things, but I think for the most part, that's really the only thing I've struggled with is heat issues. And
dude, this thing looks so good.
It was just a junkyard truck LS. I got it out of a totaled Yukon XL.
Yeah.
So it's the 6-liter. It's an LQ4, and then I don't like the way the truck intake looks. It's just kind of like ugly in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know that people are like, well, you lose torque. It's like you lose a little bit of torque not using it. But I went with an LS1 intake, and then an LS1 or Camaro spacing on all my accessories, so it just looks a lot better. So my fuel rails, intake, alternator, like all the spacing for all my accessories, they're all kind of tucked up and nice and neat looking.
Yeah.
And then just kind of did whatever I had to get my intake in there, but and then I have this teeny little radiator. I kind of screwed myself with the tube work. The tube work looks really cool in my engine bay.
It does look really cool.
But it really limited me on mounting stuff. So this is like the biggest radiator I could get that would fit in here.
Gotcha.
Right now, I'm running a single 16-inch electric fan. But the thing that fixed my heating problem right now, a lot of people, so the water pump has an inlet and outlet for like a heater, if you're running a heater core in your cab, and I wasn't. So there's this little like bypass that you put in, and it's like a little U-shaped thing that goes from the inlet to the outlet, and that's just what I slapped on there.
Nice.
And I think that was what was causing my issue, because it's like bypassing the thermostat.
Yeah.
So I saw a guy on Instagram post about it, and I'm like, no way, like I'm gonna try that. So I went and I bought some caps. I capped both of them. And ever since I capped those, I replaced my thermostat again, because I think I cooked my thermostat.
Yeah.
And dude, I've been running like 20 degrees cooler. So
Dude, I'm stoked for you because nothing's worse than overheating
yeah,
problems.
like especially down in Sand Hollow in the summertime.
Oh, man.
I got this thing pretty hot, and yeah, so I'm excited to see what it does next weekend or
Yeah.
2 weeks from now. See what the real difference is. So
It's awesome, man.
but yeah, and then I got hydraulic brakes too. So I got
I noticed
full
that,
hydro
yeah.
steering, full hydro brakes. So this is a remote mount hydro boost kit from Busted Knuckle.
Nice.
So I've got a brake uh, cylinder on my firewall, and
Wood
that
over there.
slaves up to this slave cylinder, which pushes on this, and then I got my other master. So yeah, it's kind of a different looking setup. People are like, what the hell's going on there? But
Yeah.
it's just a lot looking, a lot of lines going everywhere.
I bet
But
it stops on a dime
oh,
now,
dude,
though.
it
You can
works
be on
so
an
good.
obstacle,
Yeah.
just stop.
That's
It's
one
awesome.
thing, like, I've always heard people building custom stuff, and they're like, my brakes suck, and I really didn't want that. So I decided to try this out, and I'm happy I went with it because it works really good.
Dude, you were literally like half an inch away of having to go through the hood.
I know.
with
All my
that shock.
supports, I had to chop up a little bit to make sure I
Yeah.
fit everything. So everything was super close tolerance in this build. So
Yeah.
this is another Fuller underground part. These are his towers.
Nice.
Basically, you just cut whatever length you need, and then I just built supports going to it. So
Yeah. Yeah, everything looks really clean. You got your pump right here for your locker.
Yep. That's the ARB for that Yukon zip locker, and then my reservoir for my my steering.
So, have you ever done hydro assist, or have you?
I've done hydro assist on my last build.
So what
my
do you
other
prefer?
Tacoma. For sure, I mean full hydro is pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So,
especially because this isn't a daily driver or anything for you.
right. Like if you were driving on the road, it's probably a good idea to just do the assist. But
Yeah.
since this rarely sees the road, and honestly, like it drives pretty good on the road. I mean,
Yeah.
there's that risk factor of
Uh-huh.
what if something happened, but
Yeah.
you just don't think about that. So
No, not worth it. Things like that. Cool. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, we could literally go for hours on all the different tube work you've done and everything.
all the specs, yeah.
All the specs. Is there any like things that we missed that are obvious people would want to know about?
I don't think so. I feel like for the majority, I think those are pretty much the big things that people ask, right?
Right.
But I mean, obviously, if people have more questions, or reach out to me and I can answer them, type of thing.
Yeah. So Alec Overton is your name, and
Yep.
it's your
That's my Instagram
handle
too. Yeah,
right?
it's easy. Yep.
So I'll plug that in the video as well. But yeah, overall, dude, this build is like a dream build of mine. Like, it's just so unique to have a solid axle Tacoma. Like, there's so many Jeeps out there with 1 tons, and when you pull up to the trail with the Tacoma, it's just like breaks everybody's neck. So
yeah, it's definitely an attention getter for sure. And I don't know how many times, throughout the build process, I was like, dude, I should just freaking sell this and go buy a Jeep. It'd be so much easier to build, right?
Right.
So, but but that's not necessarily the case for. I've got a couple buddies with Jeeps that are, they spent just as long building it, and they're freaking badass too. But yeah, it's usable. That's the thing, is once it's usable, you can start wheeling it and still work on stuff. So I'm still upgrading things here and there. I'm doing new coolers. I just bought them.
Cool.
I need to do a new cooler for my transmission cooler and my steering cooler because they've just been getting too hot.
Yeah.
So they're going to be a little remote mount kit that I'm going to put underneath my bed, and they've got their own fans on them, so it should work a lot better.
Yeah, dude, this thing seems dialed.
It's getting there. Yeah, it works really good. I mean, people are kind of shocked a lot of the time that it goes up most anything we pointed at. I've gotten high centered a couple times, but just give it a little more skinny pedal and you can usually get over it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this is cool. I'd love to go to Sand Hollow with you guys one day.
Yeah,
I did the maze in my Tacoma on 35.
Nice, dude.
So
The maze is
I'm
actually
I'm
really
a little
fun.
sendy, you know?
I like the maze, dude. It's a ton of fun. Lots of fun little obstacles on that one.
Yeah,
So,
I'd love to see this thing in action sometime.
we'll have to do it.
Yeah. But again, dude, you're so talented. If you guys have any questions, he's more than open to answer any questions in DM. So
absolutely. Shoot
him a message. But thanks again for being on the channel, dude. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for Thanks for having me.